U.S. military forces, I just mentioned this going into the tease, have launched airstrikes. You're looking at them right now in the Kunduz province of Afghanistan after the Taliban suddenly found renewed strength and took over the city. It's the terrorist group's biggest victory since being ousted from Afghanistan's government in 2001. You can see those airdrops and the explosions develop on our screen, but what else is developing, at least here at the UN? This is President Obama today, chaired the Leaders' Summit on countering ISIS and violent extremism at the UN. Last night, we already mentioned the president met with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Putin increases Russian presence in Syria to fight ISIS and ISIL. I'm joined now by Marsh, a Democratic strategist and a Fox political analyst, along with Cheri, Jacobus, a Republican strategist. Marianne, first to the president. The Taliban rearing its head again, obviously trying to outdo ISIS in the terror department. Now we're focusing on two snakes in the Middle East. Do we have to throw in Assad as well in Syria? What's going to happen with that relationship?
And you probably do. And I think that's why what the president's appearance at the United Nations today, chairing this committee, is so important, because this isn't a problem that any one country can solve. It's going to take every country possible in a coalition to go after ISIS. And I think that's exactly the case he's making today. And the fact that he was making that case with Putin tells you a lot about the threat that ISIS poses and what it's going to take them out.
Taking on terror. Who, Cheri, as we look forward to the election, can do the best job at that? Is it somebody who's actually had experience, whether it's serving in the House Services Commission, the military, real experience here?
I think in the Republican field at this point in time, you're going to be looking at those people who do have the committee experience. Usually when you're running for president, we like to say governors do better. They're like miniature presidents. They have the executive experience. I think at this point, you're going to be looking at Rubio. He serves on the Senate Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee. You have John Kasich, who's now governor of Ohio, but he was a longtime member of the House Armed Services Committee. So in this particular situation, as voters get serious and look at the so-called grown-ups in the room, this type of experience will matter. They have the judgment. They don't just come up with talking points and give good speeches and crowd-pleasing speeches. They actually are people who have been in it and have been in the hearings and have gotten the classified hearing briefings as well. So I think voters, when they really pay attention, will start giving the edge to those types of candidates.
On the Democratic side, Marianne, we are looking right now at a Joe Biden, not a candidacy yet. He has not announced, and yet people are now saying Biden could be a direct threat or simply a complication to Hillary Clinton, and this at a time where we have real threats overseas. Who is best positioned on the Democratic side overall?
Well, I think right now, in terms of who's in the race, Hillary Clinton is by far. When you look at her service in the Senate during 9/11, representing New York, when you look at her service as Secretary of State, she's the one who's rebuilt all these relationships that the Bush administration decimated, that's allowing President Obama to put these coalitions together.
If Joe Biden were to jump in, does he then move ahead of her as the better leader to deal with this?
He will make that case, but here's the reality, Liz. When you look at the Wall Street Journal poll and the Fox poll, his growth comes from Hillary Clinton. But any candidate's best day is before you announce. Once he announces, he's going to get treated like a candidate, and that is going to be an argument between the two of them. I would say I'd give the odds to Hillary Clinton, given her service as Secretary of State, but Joe Biden has certainly served President Obama well as Vice President.
Well, you talked about many presidents in the governors. Jeb Bush has just finished speaking at Rice Energy in Pennsylvania. Cheri, he has rolled out an energy plan. He's focusing very much on exporting oil and cutting regulations and things like that. Is this a target he should be attacking right now?
I think it's a perfectly fine issue for him to be addressing right now. When you look at the calendar, is this a top issue on the minds of voters? No, but he's laying out a solid issue foundation for himself. He's a serious candidate. He's smart, and that is in contrast to some of the others who don't really have the ability to lay out really good plans that are pretty solid and pretty Republicans. It's standard fare. I think it's fine that he's doing it. There's not any real downside. He doesn't seem to be coming up with anything that anybody can oppose that drastically.
Cheri, Jacobus, and Marianne Marsh, thank you both very much. This is a time where we're going to have you back over and over, because each day there are brand new developments. We love you guys and your perspective.